Holy Bible, Recovery Version. Matthew chapter 27. Now, when morning had come, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death, and having bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pilate the governor. Then Judas, who betrayed him, seeing that he was condemned, regretted and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in betraying innocent blood. But they said, What is that to us? You see to that yourself. And he threw the pieces of silver into the temple and departed. And he went away and hanged himself. And the chief priests took the pieces of silver and said, It is not lawful to put them into the temple treasury, since it is blood money. And after taking counsel, they bought with it the potter's field, as a burial place for strangers. Therefore that field has been called the field of blood to this day. At that time what was spoken through Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that had been priced, whom they of the sons of Israel had priced, and they gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor questioned him, saying, Are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus said, It is as you say. And while he was being accused by the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then Pilate said to him, Do you not hear how many things they testify against you? And he did not answer him, not even to one word, so that the governor marveled greatly. Now at the feasts the governor was accustomed to release to the crowd one prisoner whom they wanted. And they had at that time a notorious prisoner named Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said to them, Whom do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ? For he knew that it was because of envy that they had delivered him up. And while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, saying, Have nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered much today, in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and to destroy Jesus. And the governor answered and said to them, Which of the two do you want me to release to you? And they said, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, What then shall I do with Jesus who is called Christ? They all said, Let him be crucified. But he said, Why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. And Pilate, seeing that nothing was gained, but rather that an uproar was taking place, took water, and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of this man's blood. You see to it yourselves. And all the people answered and said, His blood be upon us, and upon our children. Then he released to them Barabbas, but Jesus he scourged, and delivered up to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium, and gathered about him the whole cohort. And they stripped him, and put a scarlet robe around him, and they wove a crown of thorns, and placed it on his head, and put a reed in his right hand. And they kneeled before him, and mocked him, saying, Rejoice, King of the Jews. And they spat on him, and took the reed, and beat him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the robe, and put his garments on him, and led him away to crucify him. And as they were going out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. This one they compelled to take up his cross. And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him wine to drink, mingled with gall. And when he tasted it, he would not drink. And when they had crucified him, they divided his garments among themselves, casting lots. And they sat down and guarded him there. And they set in writing over his head the charge against him, This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. At that time 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on the right, and one on the left. And those who were passing by blasphemed him, wagging their heads, and saying, You who destroyed the temple and build it up in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. Likewise also the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocked him and said, He saved others. Himself he cannot save. He is King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe on him. He trusts in God. Let him rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, "I am the Son of God." And in the same way the robbers who were crucified with him also reproached him. Now from the 6th hour darkness fell over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," that is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And some of those standing there, when they heard this, said, "This man is calling Elijah." And immediately one of them ran, and taking a sponge, he soaked it with vinegar and put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink. But the rest said, "Let him be. Let us see if Elijah is coming to save him." And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice, and yielded up his spirit, and behold, the veil of the temple was split in two from top to bottom, and the earth was shaken, and the rocks were split, and the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints, who had fallen asleep, were raised, and they came out of the tombs after his resurrection, and entered into the holy city, and appeared to many. Now, the centurion and those with him guarding Jesus, when they saw the earthquake and the things that happened, became greatly frightened, saying, "Truly, this was the Son of God." And many women were there looking on from a distance, who had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, among whom were Mary the Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James, and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. And when evening fell, there came a rich man from Arimathea, named Joseph, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. This man came to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded that it be given to him. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean, fine linen cloth, and he laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn in the rock. And having rolled a great stone in front of the door of the tomb, he went away. And Mary the Magdalene was there, and the other Mary, sitting opposite the grave. On the next day, which is the day after the preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered unto Pilate, saying, "Sir, we have remembered that while he was still living, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days I will arise.' Therefore, give orders for the grave to be secured until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come and steal him away and say to the people, 'He has been raised from the dead,' and the last deception will be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "Take a guard, go and make the tomb as secure as you know how." And they went and secured the grave, sealing the stone, with the guard being there.